A long-term blackout isn't just an inconvenience. It could be the collapse of everything we rely on. No power, no water, no food deliveries, no communications. Cities would descend into chaos within days, and survival would depend entirely on those who are prepared in advance. Welcome to Prepper's Paradigm, your channel dedicated to practical prepping and disaster preparedness. I use a computer-generated voice due to an injury that makes my real voice hard to hear, but the information we share is as real and relevant as ever. Today, we're looking at one of the most serious threats preppers face, a grid-down collapse. The modern world runs on electricity, and when that stops, so does everything else. In this video, we'll cover what causes a grid-down event, what happens when the power fails, and how to prepare for short, medium, and long-term survival. This is one of the most likely large-scale disasters we could face. The only question is, will you be ready when the lights go out? A grid-down event means the large-scale failure of power, communications, and critical infrastructure. Without electricity, modern life grinds to a halt. There is no clean water, no working gas stations, no supply chain. But what could actually cause the grid to fail? One of the most common causes is natural disasters. Hurricanes, earthquakes, wildfires, and winter storms can all knock out power for days or even weeks. In 2021, Texas faced a massive blackout when a winter storm overwhelmed the grid, leaving millions without heat or running water. Cyberattacks are another real threat. Hackers targeting power plants or utility companies could take down entire regions. This isn't just a theory, it's already happened. In 2015, a cyberattack on Ukraine's power grid left hundreds of thousands in the dark, proving that critical infrastructure is vulnerable. Then there's the risk of an electromagnetic pulse, or EMP. A high-altitude nuclear detonation could send a surge of energy strong enough to fry electrical systems over an enormous area. But EMPs don't have to be man-made. A powerful solar flare could do the same thing. The most famous example is the Carrington event in 1859, when a massive coronal mass ejection, or CME, hit Earth. Back then, the damage was limited to telegraph lines. But if the same thing happened today, it could wipe out power grids, satellites, and electronics worldwide. In 2012, we had a near miss. A huge CME erupted from the sun, powerful enough to cause global blackouts, but it passed through the exact spot where Earth had been just a week earlier. If the timing had been different, we might already be living in a world without a functioning power grid. There's also the issue of supply chain failures. The U.S. power grid relies on a just-in-time system for fuel, spare parts, and repairs. If an economic collapse, war, or widespread civil unrest disrupts those supplies, the grid could fail simply because we don't have the materials to fix it. The bottom line is that a grid-down event isn't just possible, it's a relatively likely scenario. Whether it's caused by a cyberattack, a natural disaster, or a massive solar flare, the only real question is when it will happen and how prepared you'll be when it does. When the power goes out, most people assume it's temporary. Maybe a storm knocked down some power lines, or there's a minor issue with the grid. At first, there's no real panic, just frustration. But as the hours pass and nothing comes back online, the situation starts to feel different. Within the first few hours, everything we take for granted begins to fail. Stores close their doors, unable to process transactions. Gas stations shut down because their pumps rely on electricity. Traffic lights go dark, turning intersections into chaos, if cars are still running. Cell phones might keep working for a little while, but as cell towers lose power, communication starts dropping out. By the second day, people start realizing this isn't just a temporary blackout. The water supply becomes unreliable as pumps stop working. If the grid failure is widespread, food deliveries halt completely, and grocery store shelves start emptying fast. Some people rush to buy whatever they can, but it's already too late. Without refrigeration, perishable foods begin to spoil. After 3 days, panic sets in. The unprepared are now desperate. With stores closed or stripped bare, people turn to looting. Anything left unsecured is at risk. Those who have food and water may find themselves targeted. Hospitals struggle to operate on backup power, but fuel for generators won't last forever. Without refrigeration, essential medications like insulin become useless. A week into the blackout, cities start falling apart. Without power, Water treatment facilities shut down, and sanitation collapses. With no running water, sewage backs up, leading to outbreaks of disease. Trash piles up in the streets, and with food supplies running low, survival becomes a matter of who has resources and who is willing to take them. Beyond the first few weeks, the situation becomes even more dire. If the grid isn't restored, long-term survival depends on what people have prepared in advance. Government response, if it happens at all, will be slow and inadequate. In a full-scale grid-down scenario, society as we know it would break down. Cities would become unlivable. Those without the means to leave or the skills to survive would face an increasingly desperate situation. The reality is that most people would not survive a long-term grid failure. Only those who are prepared ahead of time, those with stored supplies, clean water, alternative power, and security will have a real chance. The time to get ready is now, before the lights go out for good. Surviving a grid-down collapse isn't just about having a flashlight and some extra canned food. If the power goes out for an extended period, you need to be ready for short-term survival, medium-term adaptation, and long-term self-sufficiency. I've linked some useful items on my Amazon storefront in the video description. Short-term survival. The first 2 weeks. The first stage of survival is about riding out the chaos while avoiding unnecessary risks. Your priority is to stay in place and rely on what you've already prepared. Water is the most immediate need. Without running water, you'll need stored supplies or a way to purify what you can collect. A minimum of 1 gallon per person per day is essential, but more is better. Water filters and purification tablets can extend your supply if you have access to a natural water source. Food comes next. A 2-week stockpile of non-perishable food should already be in place. Canned goods, dried foods, and ready-to-eat meals will keep you going while you figure out longer-term solutions. Cooking without power means relying on propane stoves, fire pits, or rocket stoves. If you have a generator, use it wisely. Fuel will be in short supply. Security is another major concern. Desperation leads to crime, and when people realize help isn't coming, those without supplies may try to take what they need. Keep a low profile. Don't advertise that you're stocked up. Reinforce entry points. If you're using alternative power sources, keep lights off at night and have a way to defend yourself if necessary. Your goal in the first 2 weeks is to stay put, stay quiet, and stay out of danger while others scramble to survive. Medium-term survival, weeks to months. As the blackout continues, stored supplies will start to run low. The only way to survive long-term is to shift from consumption to production. Water collection becomes critical. Rainwater harvesting, wells, and local streams or rivers will be your primary sources, but filtration is key. A backup supply of water purification tools ensures you won't be drinking contaminated water. Food storage alone won't sustain you indefinitely, so you need to supplement with new sources. Foraging can provide some nutrients, but a more reliable option is growing food. If you're not already gardening, you need to start fast. Sprouting, container gardening, and raised beds can yield food quickly, while livestock and fishing provide long-term protein sources. Waste management becomes a serious issue. Without garbage collection or functioning sewers, sanitation failures will lead to disease outbreaks. A composting toilet, proper waste disposal, and maintaining hygiene standards will keep you healthy when medical help isn't available. By this stage, bartering may become a necessity. Cash loses value when there's nothing to buy, but trade becomes the new economy. Extra food, clean water, medical supplies, and ammunition will all be in demand. If the grid doesn't return after a few months, survival becomes about adapting to the new normal. Long-term survival, beyond 6 months. A long-term grid failure means a complete societal shift. Those who survive will be the ones who build sustainable systems. Food production must be a constant process. A well-maintained garden, livestock, and food preservation techniques like drying, smoking, and canning will be the difference between thriving and barely scraping by. Those who have survived this long will be starting to get used to life without electricity. Security evolves beyond personal defense. Isolated individuals will struggle, but small, trustworthy groups can work together for protection, trade, and survival. In a full-scale collapse, the strongest survivors won't just be the best armed. They'll be the ones with the most useful skills. Growing food, hunting, fishing, first aid, construction, food preservation, and mechanical repair will all be essential. Knowledge becomes more valuable than money. A grid down event isn't science fiction. It's a real possibility that could happen at any time. When the lights go out, the unprepared will be scrambling for food, water, and safety. But those who took action ahead of time will have the resources and skills to survive. Prepping isn't about fear. It's about being ready. Every step you take now increases your chances of making it through a long-term blackout. Build your water supply, stockpile food, secure your home, and develop the skills you'll need when modern conveniences disappear. If you found this information useful, make sure to subscribe to Prepper's Paradigm for more practical prepping and survival strategies. We cover everything from food storage to off-grid living, so you'll always have the knowledge to stay ahead. Give this video a thumbs up if you're serious about preparedness, and let us know in the comments, what's your biggest concern in a grid down scenario? Thanks for watching. Stay safe, stay prepared, and we'll see you in the next video.